Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today it's Callum here, and we're going to be doing a bike check of my 2014 GT Fury Expert. So this is a size large, and yeah, we're going to be having a look at all the different parts there. Alright, so starting off with the cockpit, the bars I run are Renthal Fat Bar lights, which are perfectly colour matched to my stanchions, which I think is really cool. But yeah, they're 760mm width with 40mm rise. I really like these bars. I think it's a good mix between free ride bars that you can sort of muck around with and do tables, but they also are good for technical sections because they're so wide. And coming from a dirt jumper background and a street background, I really like having the 40mm rise because that just feels more comfortable to me. We've got the ODI flight control stem, which is a pretty cool stem. It's all machined, just one block of machined aluminium, which I think is actually gives a really cool look. And that also has quite a bit of rise on the stem, as you can see there, so that's kind of cool. For my brakes, I run a SRAM Guide RE on the front. I went with the RE as opposed to the R simply because it's quite an old heavy bike, and the RE is designed for e-bikes because of the extra weight. It's just designed to give it a bit more grunt, so that's why I went with the RE for the front. And then with the rear, I've just got a Shimano MT500, I believe. It's not nearly as powerful as my front brake, so I am hoping to upgrade it soon, but just at the time it was what I could afford, so that's why that's on there. As for the grips, I've just got some pretty old, used and worn jet black grips, as you can see there, and dire need of replacement. But I really like these grips. I tested them out a few years ago up in Bright, and I actually really love them. So I've just been running those ever since. And I just think they feel really good and they're really comfortable, so that's why I use those. For the forks, we have Fox 40 forks. These are the spring forks, so they're not as adjustable, but they're a really good fork. They're pretty heavy, but that's not too big an issue once you get used to them. So yeah, just 200mm of travel, which is standard downhill fork really. And yeah, that's what I'm running with there. Alright, so with the front wheel, I've got a Spank Spike rim. It's the Race 28. It's a pretty awesome rim. I built this wheel myself. I just really like the colours. We've got the blue sort of metallic finish on the rim, and then the red spoke ends. I think it just gives it a really cool look. And yeah, I really like this rim. It's a really sturdy rim. Spank make really strong rims, which is why I picked this one specifically, not only because the colour matched my bike, which was a positive, but also just because I do a lot of big stuff and a lot of big hits, and I just really need to have strong wheels for the big impacts that I take. I went with DHFs on both the front and the rear. I just like the grip, and I find it helps me with cornering, so yeah, it's just a personal choice. So for the rear shock, I own a Foxvan RC with a 550-pound spring. That's just a personal choice, the 550 pounds. It initially came with the 400 stock, but I just find that personally having a 550 is the most flexible between doing big hits for big drops or big jumps or whatever, as well as just going over technical sections where you just want it to be a smooth ride. And also, as far as my compression settings go, for the fork as well as the rear shock, I just like to run them both at lowest compression possible, so they're as stiff as possible. Again, that's just a personal choice, but I just like to have my bike as stiff as possible for when I need to get the absolute most out of suspension on a big hit. Alright, so moving on to the drivetrain side of things, I have race face Chester cranks with a 165mm length, I believe. It's the shortest you can get, realistically, and that's just good, so when you're pedaling you don't clip yourself on rocks and stuff. Oh, it's falling. That was sad. So those are my cranks. As far as my chainring goes, I just run 36 tooth. For me, yeah, that's just personal choice. I just find it's the best when you're going down a jump line or whatever and you just need the extra bit of speed. Having a 36 over 34 tooth is really important for me as a rider, and that's just a personal choice, I guess. And then for the bash guard, it's just an E13 bash guard. It's like super old. I think it's like a 5-year-old bash guard, but yeah, it keeps the frame and chainring safe. That's good. That's gotta stop happening, but look at that view. It's magnificent. Thought you should know that. Alright, so with the rear of my bike, I've done something that not a lot of downhill riders do, but something that I just felt was best for me, and it actually works really well, is I've changed the cassette from the standard cassette that it came with, which was an 11 to 28 tooth, I believe, which is just a standard downhill cassette, to an 11 to 36 tooth, which is a free ride cassette, sort of enduro / free ride cassette, which gives me a massive amount of range, and actually allows me to climb a lot of stuff that most people on downhill bikes normally can't do. So where I live and the trails I ride, they don't normally have shuttles. You normally have to pedal back up to the top, but I still like how downhill bikes feel and don't really want to change to an enduro bike. So this was a really important upgrade for me, because it allows me to still ride those enduro trails, or just, you know, standard trails that aren't necessarily designed purpose built for downhill bikes. It still gives me the freedom to ride those trails with such a big heavy bike. So yeah, I'm really glad I did that, and would actually recommend that if it's possible. It's just a nice to have when you do need to do a little bit of pedaling. And as for my derailleur, I've got a Shimano Z. This is a really strong derailleur. This is the free ride variant. But yeah, I really like this. It's seen me through a lot. I've damaged it quite severely, as you can see. There's a lot of scratches and marks on it. At the moment it's actually bent, but it's still working. And yeah, for me, this is just a really strong derailleur that I really like to run, and that's paired up with the Shimano Dior shifter. Alright, so moving on to the rear rim now. So for my rear rim, I've got an Alex from Super BH. The dude that owned this bike before me destroyed the rear wheel that he had initially, and replaced it with his Alex rims. So if you don't know, this bike actually came with, I can't remember what rims they were, but they were blue. They were really cool. But due to manufacturing problems with them, they all had to get recalled, and Sunringle rims were then put on these bikes. So I initially, when I first had this bike, I had the Sunringle rim up front, but I've since changed it to that after destroying it. But yeah, still running the Alex rim, Super BH. It's a good rim, it's a solid rim, it's pretty strong, has no dents or anything in it, so I'm just going to see that through until I, need to replace it. And as for the rear hubs go, I'm just running Sunringle Demon hubs. They were the hubs that came with it when I got it. They sound nice enough, and yeah, I've got no issues with them. The rear cassette locks perfectly fine. So yeah, I'll just keep on running those until they need to be replaced. And moving on to my pedals, I run KWT pedals. So these are the acrylic blend type, but with the metal pegs. I really appreciate that as somebody who tries to learn new tricks and stuff. Quite often I'll smash my shins into these, and it's really nice having the metal pegs and still that same grip that you have with metal pedals, but it hurts a lot less when you smash your shins into them because they're acrylic. So that's why I run those. These are the downhill pedals, and they're really strong. I've never broken one. These are the ones I first got when I got this bike years ago, and I still run them because they work perfectly fine. So yeah, really happy with these, and would definitely recommend those as well. Alright guys, so thank you for checking out the bike check of my 2014 GT Fury Expert. I hope you guys enjoy learning about some of the parts I ride. I don't know, maybe you pick something up. So yeah, have a good one, and we'll catch you in another video.